Okay, the first thing we want to do is start cleaning up our data. There's a lot of information in here that we don't need, so we're going to get rid of that stuff and just save it for later. What we'll do is we'll make a new sheet, sheet number 3, that's fine, and we are going to select all of this stuff here, all of that. We're going to cut and paste. Oh, because one of them is locked. Okay, no problem. Copy first, then paste. Delete that. So because we can't delete these columns because they're part of the original form, we're just going to shrink them down because we don't really need them. And we can focus on the stuff that we do want. Fictional character and all the location stuff, we'll get rid of that. Copy, and then paste. The reason I'm doing this is because I still want to have this data, even though I probably won't use it. I want to make sure that if I want to, I can. So now all we've got are the timestamps here and these key bits of information here. If we want to organize our data, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to freezing the top row here. So we'll go to View, Freeze one row. That way we don't mess anything up. And now we can sort. So we can sort it from A to Z. This also means lowest number to highest number. And it will change all the answers along with it. So we can see it by highest to low. It doesn't really matter for the purpose of this, but it's something you can do. The next thing we're going to do is we are going to go over here, and you can see that I've already assigned scores to types of food. I put qualities in here just to help me figure out how I'm going to group them. The quality isn't overly important, but the score is. The score that I give it is what gives this data meaning. I've selected the lowest or least spicy foods at the lowest point value, and the highest spicy foods at the highest point value. If you've never tried Hakka food, it's super spicy and delicious. This doesn't mean that all foods from these ethnicities are like that. Again, this is for the purposes of showing you how this stuff works. I know there's a wide variety of foods and flavors to choose from in each of these ethnicities, but I wanted to try to give you a sense of how you take these words here and turn them into numbers. So once I've assigned point values, and these should be researched on your own work and on the thing that you are working on, you should be able to make a sensible and logical point value assessment for each of these. You should be able to describe why Hakka is a 6 and Japanese is a 4, right? You should be able to talk about that. The other thing that I've done is I've assigned point values based on color temperature. This is a little easier to do. Just look at the rainbow and go from one to the other. The only difference being blues and purples, I switched. Even though on the spectrum purple is a little cooler than blue, I switched that to a 2 because it tends to be the coolest color that we generally use. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to copy this information here. I'm going to bring it over to my other table so that I can show you how this works as we move through it. Now, the first thing you're going to want to do before you start changing anything in your data is you're going to want to make a copy. You can see I've made a copy here. It's very easy to do. Go to your original responses and then do duplicate, and it will make a copy right there for you. I've got 2 copies now, I only need 1. But there you go. The second thing you're going to want to do before you change anything is make sure that the top here is unfrozen so you can copy it. We're going to make some room, so we're going to paste this over here. What is your favorite color? Now, we've got 2 of these, don't worry. What we're going to do now is we're going to separate each of these responses into a column. This is where you want to make some space for yourself because we're going to have 3 responses here separated into 3 columns. So 1, 2, and 3. Very easy to do. Go to Data, go to Split Text to Columns, And Sheets is pretty smart. You can see that it's already divided each response into 3 columns. I can now do the math in this column and total up some scores. Before I do that though, I need to assign numerical values to each of these. I've got my point values down here, so I'll get started. So I'm going to go to Find and Replace under Edit, Find and Replace. I'll move this out of the way so I can see what I'm doing. And here we go. First one I'm going to find is American. Find and replace with the number 1. And I'm going to match only a specific range. I don't want to do the whole thing. I still want my data to be intact in other places. So I'm going to take from here, hold Shift to there. And you can see that the numbers now match D2 and F11 and everything in between. Okay. So now that I've specified what range, I've said the word, I've said the number, I'm going to click Replace All. And now I've got number 1s where there used to be the word American. And I'm going to do the same thing for each response, making sure that the number matches the name. All right, now that I have the point values established for all my foods here, very easy to do. I'm going to sum this up. So I'll change this to food score. And now I can do the sum feature. You can click up here for functions, and we'll give you a huge list of things you can do. Some, we're just doing addition. Then it's going to ask you what value to what value. We're going to say this value to this value. Enter, and it totals it up for you. The super easy part now is you can copy this formula and paste it down here. Now this is our total value. We could average it out, and we can also do a correlation. I'm going to show you a correlation on this, so what I'm looking for is higher scores here should coordinate with higher scores here. I need to do the same thing now for my color scores. For this one, I'm going to assign values here, and I'll change this to color score. I'll leave the original color in there actually. And I will do the same find and replace feature. And I'm going to make sure that I'm only doing it in this column here. I still want to see what the original color was, and I want to see the score value for it now. So we're going to find red, we're going to replace it with a 6, and we've got a specific range here, which I'll just change it to this. Okay. And replace all. And on down the list we go. So now we have organized our responses into numbers here, our favorite types of food. We've summed it up. I will make that bold and shrink this down a little bit. We've got our favorite colors. And we have our scores for those colors here. I don't really need these ones right now, so I'll get rid of it. I still have it, if you remember, on this sheet here. So I still have my scoring sheet. I can go back and find it. The big idea when you're working with a lot of data is to keep things as clean as possible. You don't want to have a lot of confusion, a lot of extra information that you really don't need. All right, so now I boil it down to simplest bits of information. The respondent, which we just know by when they responded, the score that they gave their food, and their color score. Interestingly enough, I can already see that 4 and 4 are going together. Let's do some correlational and statistical analysis using the tools here so we can get a really good look at this data and see if my hypothesis maybe makes a little bit of sense.